everybody. Welcome to today's webinar. I see there are people who are joining fast and furious. We're up to 190 people. Please take a moment and share where you're from in the chat. Thank you, Shyla, for kicking it off for all of us. So just head on over to the chat, share about who you are, and also what brought you here. What do you hope to talk about today? What inspired you to join? What are you curious about? We hope to cover all of those topics throughout the course of today's webinar. Hey, James from Calgary, Jesse from Durham, bonjour from Montreal. Jay, this is awesome. This is so cool to see everybody joining in the chat. Stoked to improve mental health. Muse S user, thank you. So we'll just take another minute or two as more people keep joining. And so anybody who is joining us now, just drop your name in the chat, say hi from where you're from, and also let us know what your interests are, what brought you here. Today's webinar is, thank you, Stefanos Muse is the best. That's very kind. So today's webinar is going to be on mental fitness, and we're going to talk about the various ways to track and train your brain, just like you train your body. And we have with us today an esteemed guest, Dr. Cody Rall. He's a great buddy of ours, and he is a Navy-trained psychiatrist with over a decade of experience using neurotechnology and biohacking tools to optimize health and performance. You might know him as the founder of Tech for Psych. He's really a leading voice in wearable neurotech, helping people harness their brains for focus, recovery, and the cognitive edge. So welcome, Cody. It is awesome to be here with you.
Thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to the discussion.
Awesome. And my name is Ariel Garten. I'm one of the founders of Muse and happy to be leading the conversation with everybody. I see someone here from Alpha Beats, Linda from Toronto. Super exciting to be here with our growing community. So I'm going to kick today's meeting off with a discussion about what is mental fitness. You know, that is what has brought us all here, the desire to maintain our cognitive function as we age, the desire to stay in our peak performance at this moment in time, regardless of where we are in our aging process. And I also see notes in the chat about people who have kids that they're hoping to help and support. So Cody, let's kick off this in discussion talking about what is mental fitness. So what does mental fitness mean to you?
I'd have to take the psychiatry standpoint on that. They always talk about biopsychosocial. So there's a biological component, making sure your brain has enough fuel to feel like it's got the energy capable of managing stress throughout the day. And then the psychology of it is what are you experiencing during the day? Are you in a good mood? Are you feeling irritable? Are you with high anxiety? And then the social component's really important as well. Are you plugged into your community? Are you doing something that brings you fulfillment? I think that these are all things that really contribute to what I would call mental fitness. And I would note, I love this term mental fitness. Over the last decade that I've been in mental health, you know, it's always been about mental health, which is a nice term, but mental fitness, to me, it just sounds more like you're thriving rather than coping. So I really like the term.
Yeah, because we talk about our physical fitness all the time, you know, where we can be delightfully obsessed with our physical fitness, what it is to feel strong, to be capable. And so I love that we're now moving to this idea of mental fitness. You brought up another word, which was mental health. So let's take a moment and actually break down for the audience mental health, brain health, mental fitness. And so for me, brain health is about the health of the organ itself. So you've got a brain, and that organ can function more and less effectively. It can be more or less healthy. Mental health is about the emotional experience that we have of our life and the kinds of thoughts we have and how they make us feel. So you can be mentally healthy, meaning you have positive thoughts, you don't feel stressed, you can think clearly, you find joy in your day, or mentally unhealthy, which unfortunately could be the opposite, or even mentally ill, which falls into a class of diagnoses, which you may or may not agree with, but you know, as a psychiatrist, it's its own category. And then we have this idea of mental fitness, which to me encompasses your cognitive abilities. So being able to be sharp, being able to think quickly, to be resilient. It encompasses our endurance, our able to be fit for longer. And it encompasses our ability to also be cognitively and emotionally fit. So to me, mental fitness combines all of those ideas into what is our experience of life, our experience of thinking, our experience of seeing and feeling the world, given the brain that we have.
And I always like to geek out between the interaction between those two. As you can imagine, your brain health can influence your mental health and your mental fitness. If you're not feeling well, you're going to subjectively experience the world through a filter that's going to cause what we would diagnose as anxiety or depression. So building up your mental fitness really protects you from having that filter go awry and having there's only so much you can do with willpower. You can tell yourself to think positive. You can, redirect your thoughts to things that are going well in your life. But it's a lot easier to do if you've got good mental fitness and you've got the support structure around there with brain health to, steer your mind in the direction that's going to help you feel fulfilled.
Yes. So we can support the organ of our brain
Yeah,
by doing things like eating well, recovering, sleeping well, having low stress, because cortisol is toxic to the brain. We can support our emotional well-being, our mental health, by techniques to learn to manage and calm our mind and calm our body. And we can support our cognitive and mental health by having a healthy organ of the brain, by training our brain to be able to have better endurance, better resilience, and ultimately be able to be at its sharpest and clearest. So,
absolutely.
what are some of the ways that you think about training your mental fitness?
There's a lot of different things that you can do. I think a lot about circadian rhythm, to be honest. I think that this rhythm that we live our lives in the day to day is so important. And that's sort of like the brain health component of it. So going to bed at the same time every day, not eating too close to bedtime, as much as you can, not consuming alcohol or other substances that are going to disrupt your sleep. This is going to help you get better sleep. And then when you wake up in the morning, you get a nice cortisol boost. Cortisol can be a sign of stress, but it also can, supercharge your energy levels as well. And then just getting that rhythm to your day and day to day, I think is really helpful for mental fitness. And then, of course, doing things like I just released a morning routine video where I talked about how I have my morning routine. I wake up, splash some water on my face, and take care of things. But when I get into my office, before I'm even sitting down to start work, I'm journaling. I have a journaling technique where I think about myself in 2 to 5 years, and I'm writing down the things that I'm thankful for as my future self, so that I can sort of lock my brain into, okay, what are the things that I need to do today to get there? And then I'm doing a Muse meditation session, which, in my opinion, primes your mind for mindfulness. It helps you get very aware, and we'll talk a lot about the neurofeedback aspect of Muse here in a little bit here on the webinar, but um, I don't think that there's any better way to build self-awareness and mindfulness than through neurofeedback. I'm a big proponent of it. And then if I want to do some more advanced meditation techniques, sometimes I'll even take the Muse headband off and then go into those techniques so that I'm not locked in just mindfulness training. I'm doing visualization and other things that might actually make the neurofeedback confused about what I'm doing with my mind. And then I'm going into my work for the day. So that would be one example of how I'm training my mental fitness. And of course, exercise during the day, doing long distance running. I like to trail run. I like to get out in nature and do that. And weightlifting. I've been talking a lot about some other biohacking techniques like cold plunge, red light therapy, stroboscopic light stimulation. So I'm trying to do all of it. And it's really, really fun to track how these different things are affecting my cognitive health using alpha peak, and then different um, things that you can do. You can get the raw brainwave signals through some third party apps. You can take a look at the blood flow now through Athena with the fNIRS. Honestly, there's so much data to collect in so many different scenarios that I'm actually getting a little overwhelmed. I just want to do all of it, but it's going to take years to do all this. So I've got a full career ahead of me just testing these different things with the Muse headband. So it's really fun.
Thank you. Let's back up for a second because you mentioned Muse, and some people who are here may not even know what we're talking about. So it says Muse. It's a clinical grade EEG. It tracks your brain really as effectively as a EEG in a lab would. And we have an amazing new device, Muse S Athena, which tracks both your EEG, your brain activity moment to moment, as well as a brand new technology, fNIRS, functional near infrared spectroscopy, which is actually able to track the blood flow to your brain. So when you talked about tracking the oxygen using fNIRS, what he was referring to is using our newest and latest device. So you've had a chance to play around with the device. Tell us your thoughts about it.
Well, I've got so much to say about the EEG side of things. The fNIRS is so new that I'm trying a couple of different things. I think that some things that would influence the blood flow is breath work, I think is something that people, it makes sense, right? You're doing breath work, you're dilating blood vessels in your brain, as well as delivering more oxygen to your brain. So that can help, achieve a positive fNIRS signal. But there's a lot of other things that, to be honest, I haven't been able to experiment with yet. Some things that I want to do is what does cold shower do to the blood flow in your brain? What does caffeine do? Because we know that caffeine actually constricts blood vessels. So does that actually decrease your fNIRS concentration score, or does it make it go up? So these are all things that are on my agenda to test. I just haven't been able to get around to doing it yet.
Because it's brand new, because you just
It's
got
brand
it.
new.
Yeah, I
And
think for
really
most
what I'm
people,
doing, and really what I'm doing right now is just doing you guys have this wonderful um, Athena exercise where I'd love if you could explain the owl. I think that it's such a neat emblem of Athena and the exercise. But really, I'm playing around with that neurofeedback exercise and building up my opinion as I'm using it every day over the course of a month before I really start, putting more videos out about it. I want to build up that data set before I dive into it too much. And it literally just came out last month, so that's really where I'm at right now.
awesome. Yeah, so people are pretty excited about it. And the Athena owl experience that you described. So Athena, as I said, has two kinds of sensors, EEG sensors, which most Muse users are very familiar with. The EEG sensors are used for tracking your brain during the day to look at your levels of alpha, beta, theta, delta, tracking your brain during meditation neurofeedback to look at how focused or distracted your brain is, and tracking your brain at night to track your brain during sleep. The new device, the new feature that we have, the fNIRS, is able to track the oxygenation of your brain. So it's literally looking at your prefrontal cortex, which is an important part of your brain. It is the seat of your decision making, of your attention, of your inhibition, your higher order processing. And it's looking at the amount of blood flow that your prefrontal cortex receives and the amount of oxygen that your prefrontal cortex consumes. So when we do any exercise, like, we go to the gym, we work our muscles, those muscles are working, they're doing effort, and they are then demanding more oxygen and more nutrients from your bloodstream. So your bloodstream sends oxygen and nutrients to it. Your muscle is then able to work harder because it now has more energy with the oxygen. And then it is able to grow bigger because it then has more nutrients over time, and you've strengthened it. With Athena, we're doing the same thing. So we're tracking how much blood oxygen is coming to your prefrontal cortex. And in the owl neurofeedback that you described, what we're doing is we are training your prefrontal cortex to demand more oxygen. We're training your prefrontal cortex to work on its mental strength, to be able to have longer endurance, to do this exercise for longer, and to demand more oxygen. And as we see more oxygenated blood coming to your prefrontal cortex, bringing nutrients and energy, the owl flies. And the more oxygen that's coming to your prefrontal cortex, the further the owl is flying. And this kind of neurofeedback training has been demonstrated to increase your brain's endurance and the functioning of your prefrontal cortex. So it's a very powerful form of neurofeedback.
Yeah, there's some amazing studies out of University of Tübingen in Germany where they were using virtual reality headsets and frontal lobe blood flow tracking to train impulsivity in children that had been diagnosed with ADHD. And I'm not saying that Muse treats ADHD. You can't make those claims, due to regulations. But it's amazing to see the research being done and the legwork being done behind this technology, so that people can train their brain for focus and have alternatives to pharmaceuticals. And really learn to develop this mental fitness like we're talking about, so that we can all have our brains functioning on the highest level that we can.
Yeah, I mean that's the goal, to be able to work our brains across many different dimensions. Um, so when we think about mental fitness and the ways that we can work your brain, we tend to think like sort of my frame of thinking is around clarity and focus. So you're training your brain to have focus, to have clarity, around endurance, training your brain to be able to stay on task, and around recovery, being able to then allow your brain to sleep, to refuel, to relax, to do the things that it needs to do to recover. Can you speak a little bit to those three paradigms and the importance of them in a brain throughout the day?
Well, I think the rest and recovery stuff I'm getting really interested in. I think the biohacking community is totally zeroing in on things like heart rate. The lower your heart rate is before, as you're getting into bed and going to sleep, the better that you're going to sleep. But I think that, and I've demonstrated this on some of my videos before, the advantage that Muse actually has over like Aura or Whoop or a lot of these other trackers is that you're actually measuring the thing that ultimately puts you to sleep, which is your brain. So the Muse can actually detect these electrical signals in your brain as you're slipping down from 8 to 12 oscillations per second in alpha range, further down into theta and delta is that transition into sleep. And Muse has that really neat digital sleeping pill uh, option where it actually has music that helps you get to sleep, and the music fades out as your brain is getting to sleep. It's actually a pretty wild experience. If you haven't tried it, I would really recommend it. But I'm excited that now that we have these blood flow sensors, and I think that the previous Muse device was actually able to detect heart rate as well. But here it is here in the Athena. And one of the things that I want to do is start really tracking heart rate combined with brainwaves before sleep. And there's a lot of things that can affect that. It's how I'm really making sure to eat dinner at least 2.5 hours before I go to sleep, because that your digestive system can really affect those metrics and make your sleep not as restful. And then there's other techniques like getting out blue light, making sure you're not too stimulated by movies or shows or your phone before you go to sleep. So I think the rest and recovery aspect of it is super interesting right now. And I think that as much as you want to lean on the mental fitness, high performance side of things, as we've seen with neuroscience lately, the brain sometimes it just needs rest to be able to get that performance. It's like the rest and recovery part is just so essential. And the last thing that I'll say is as I've been measuring my peak alpha levels over the last 6 months, there has been very few things, if anything, that has compared to getting a good night of sleep on my peak alpha metrics the next morning. And you can really feel it the next day in your mental performance.
Amazing. So you touched on a few things there that I want to hone back in on. So one, this idea of rest and recovery is incredibly important. Yeah, we think about mental fitness and we're like, we want to be gung ho. We want our brains to be so sharp. We want to be caffeinated and alert and aware. But really what you need in order to do that is also a good night's sleep. And so with Muse, as we've crafted our various ways to help you stay mentally fit, sleep is an incredibly important part of that. So we have sleep tracking that literally is as effective as a sleep lab. The EEG sleep tracking, it's widely used by sleep scientists in place of a sleep lab. And then we have the digital sleeping pill that actually helps you fall asleep and fall back asleep. So if you have difficulty sleeping, it's a really effective tool. And then we have the other side of recovery, which is also emotional and mental, the emotionally driven aspect of recovery, and that is meditation. So when you go throughout your day and you start to feel yourself getting stressed, that reduces your performance abilities, that impairs your ability to make decisions, that impairs your ability to like speak calmly and eloquently with the people around you because you're feeling stressed and you just want to respond badly. And so, as much as the overnight recovery is key, frequent parts of recovery throughout the day by being able to take a deep breath, do a quick meditation, be able to observe, train yourself to observe your state and observe where your state is at to know if you need to recover. To say, like, oh, I'm noticing that I'm feeling kind of angry right now, and I should take a moment to calm myself down before I start talking to my children again. True story. Um, all of those moment by moment pieces of recovery throughout the day are also key. And so we've really focused on creating the tools that teach you the skill to observe yourself and actually bring in recovery techniques like meditation, et cetera, throughout your daily life to reset. Um, I think we should talk a little bit also about the vagus nerve and its important role in recovery. Do you want to chat with us a little bit about the role of the vagus nerve?
Yeah, sure. I think most people probably remember from their high school biology days that we have our fight or flight sympathetic nervous system. That's when there's a threat, your pupils dilate, blood rushes to your muscles, you're ready to run, hide, or fight from the threat in the environment. And there's rest and relax. Blood, goes to the digestive system, heart rate goes down, you get increased heart rate variability. The vagus nerve is key player in that. It's a key nerve that comes, directly out of your brain. And, if you want to rest and relax, activating the vagus nerve can be very helpful uh, to allow your physiology to catch up to where you're trying to get to with your mind. And there can be quite a bit of top down control that you can develop through meditation. There's some other methods. Some people are trying to use transdermal electrical stimulation to stimulate the nerve to encourage the body to wind down. But certainly with the Muse headband, you can train yourself to get into that state and help encourage rest and relax. That is not only helpful during the day, like you said, when you're feeling stressed out and getting revved up and catching yourself and making sure that your physiology doesn't go too far in one direction so that it's harder to get back once you've gone down that road. But also as you're winding down to sleep, just recognizing that, hey, the work that's been done today, it's time to rest and relax. You'll get to it tomorrow. Maybe a evening meditation session is really helpful because, uh, back to the brain waves, if you're revved up into beta and you've got this constant thought loop going on about the things that you need to do or the things that you're worried about, just nudging that down into alpha with a meditation session will make it so much easier to, activate rest and relax. And then as you go to sleep, get down into theta and delta for true restorative sleep and get your proper sleep architecture throughout the night so you feel refreshed the next day.
So on that note, and this relates to questions I've seen in the chat too, can you actually talk us through what is a good way to use Muse for your mental fitness throughout the day? What are some techniques that you like? How does it fit throughout your day? I know for me, I like meditation in the morning while I'm still lying in bed. I do a neurofeedback session in the middle of the day usually, and it sort of like, re-engages me when I'm starting to lose it. And then love to use guided meditations to fall asleep. So tell me, what are some of the ways that you like to use it? What's your stack?
Yeah, pretty similar to that, actually. I don't tend to meditate while I'm still in bed. I get up and take care of a few things before I get into the YouTube studio here in my office. And I've got a meditation mat that I sit down on, and really that's I tend to do journaling first, just so that I can sort of wake my mind up because I know I'm going to do some visualization exercises. So I'll do journaling, and then I'll do my mindfulness muse session to get my alpha peak levels. And the way that I think about it is you're actually waking your neural circuitry up for mindfulness. There's different circuits that actually turn on for mindfulness, and I want to be as mindful as I can during the day. And also, it's good prep work for other techniques that you can use. So I'm doing the Muse mindfulness session, and then I'm moving into more intense visualization exercises after that. And then if I am using the Muse Athena fNIRS exercise, I do tend to use it in the afternoon as well. Um, And then again, if I'm winding down to sleep and I find myself I'm a little bit more activated during the day than I normally would, that's when I would be doing the Muse meditation at night, and maybe the digital sleeping pill if I feel like I really need it. I think my circadian rhythm's pretty strong, so that when that melatonin hits at 8:30, you can ask my wife, I'm out for the night. So I don't have to use the digital sleeping pill too often, but it's really fun to use when I do try it out.
Thank you. Yeah, I noticed there's a difference. There's people who are poor sleepers and have a difficult relationship to sleeping, and for them, it's like digital sleeping pills a lifeline. And for those of us who luckily, thankfully, have well-established good sleep habits and just brains that have learned effectively how to sleep somehow, digital sleeping pills less of a crutch, and just a go to sleep meditation can be a lovely way to
I
take
I
yourself or
will
your kitties down to sleep.
I will say one thing from my personal experience lately, and I don't know if it's because it's allergy season and I've had some itchy eyes or what's going on with me, but I've been waking up around 2 or 3 in the morning a lot lately. And it'll take me a little bit to go back to sleep. But even if I'm not using the Muse device at 2 or 3 in the morning, it's a very similar exercise because I've trained mindfulness training. Um, it's like I'm laying there and I'm awake. I'm like, why am I awake? And instead of my thoughts kind of running away with it and anxiety building about like I have to get up in 2 or 3 hours, like I'm gonna be exhausted all day. Mm, push it aside and just become very present. Like you're just laying there in bed and you become very present. And it's so weird. Like once you get out of your way, your brain naturally knows what to do and gets you back to sleep. So I've just noticed that the Muse training has helped me in those instances when I'm not even using the Muse because I've done the legwork all these years with it. I have that skill set to apply it when I really need to, and it's been really helpful.
That's entirely the goal, to teach you what to do, to teach you how to observe your own brain, to bring more awareness to your cognitive function, to give you tools and techniques that you practice regularly so that when you don't have the muse on, you have it your fingertips, the tip of your tongue, the edge of your brain, whatever metaphor you want to use, you have it there for you to use to recover during the day, to bring your mind back when it's wandering, to be able to bring your more focus and more attention to the task at hand, to be able to demand more blood to your prefrontal cortex when you're kind of feeling sluggish and not engaged, to be able to move your mind away when you're trying to fall asleep and your mind is getting in the way. So, we train during the day in order to be able to use these skills when we need them. So it's amazing that it's working so effectively. I'd love to do a super quick summary and then open it up for questions because I see there's many. So today we talked about mental fitness. We talked about in three categories, the mental fitness being able to have clarity and focus, being able to train your focus, being able to have endurance, being able to maintain your focus and your abilities and your skills longer, and being able to recover, being able to both recover at night through sleep and recover during the day, noticing where your mind body experience is at and bringing yourself back to a more effective state in the moment. And we talked about some ways that you can use Muse and other techniques to make that happen. And now we're going to open it up to the audience because I see lots of questions around the new device and others. So there's 24 questions in the chat. Um, the I see a lot of questions about ADD. So I'm going to not answer those because Muse is not an FDA regulated tool for ADD. However, the kind of training that you do with Muse can support you in living with ADD, ADHD. And I'm going to instead throw the question to the psychiatrist to answer. Um, so can we use tools to support living with ADD?
Yeah, this executive function network being able to redirect your attention is really powerful, and that certainly can aid people with focus difficulties. It's not the full picture, but it really is everything that we're talking about, right? If you have better mental fitness, if you have better brain health, and you have mindfulness training with the Muse, these combine to help harness your focus and help you overcome not just um, focus difficulties, but there are going to be other things that distract people as well. If you have high anxiety, that can be very distracting as well. So there's multiple different symptoms of different things that we've boxed into categories called mental health disorders that can benefit from this training, as well as I think that you guys are offering the ebook along with this webinar. Take a look through that ebook. I mean, there's so much gold in there for taking a look at the whole holistic picture of how to take care of your brain, and Muse is an integral part of that. But as you take care of your diet, nutrition, and other things like your circadian rhythm, you're just going to find that your mind is a lot more pliable to your will, if you will.
Awesome. Thank you. Another question. So what if your mental health and your mental fitness are already compromised with depression or anxiety disorder or chronic pain? Pain has come up a few times. What can realistically be done with Muse to improve your quality of life or mental fitness?
You want me to answer that one?
Sure,
Yes,
I can
yes.
answer it too, but why don't you start?
Similar, and I know it's not an easy answer. Chronic pain is very difficult to live with, and the chronic ailments, especially when there's just not, in most cases, a good mainstream treatment, you got to do everything that you can to get your mind in the right place to feel like you can manage the symptoms throughout the day. And I can't think of better things to do than to train your mind with neurofeedback. Again, look at the ebook. There's just so much that you can do to improve your mental health, and the better that you're able to train your brain, the better your brain is going to be able to handle chronic pain or anxiety or these other things that are affecting you. Certainly not panacea of or a quick fix, but I think that most people would agree that if you train meditation and train your mind for months and years, that you're going to be a lot better off than if you hadn't. If you just let your mind do what it wants to do in those situations, rather than training it towards being able to manage stress, because we're all managing stress, some more than others, but this is an incredibly powerful thing that you can do for yourself. So I'm glad that you're here and learning about this, because I think that it really can help over time. Give it time and be consistent training.
Amazing, thank you. And what I would say is living with chronic pain, depression, anxiety is not fun and not easy. So my heart is there with the challenge of it. And again, Muse is not a medical device intended to cure or diagnose disease, any condition. However, training with meditation, particularly with devices like Muse, can be really effective to strengthen your ability to move your will and your mind away from what bothers you and onto another topic. So we have a beautiful pain course made by Dr. Ron Siegel. He's a prof at Harvard and a really expert in pain and meditation. And he, within this course, teaches you about the psychoeducation of pain, how pain is created not just in the body, but also in the brain. There's primary pain and secondary pain, and how a practice of learning to accept the situation you're in, accept the sensation and not fight against it, can actually change your relationship to pain and your ability to live life with pain. And likewise, in situations like anxiety and depression, those thoughts and those feelings are there, they come and they go, but changing your relationship to them, changing the narrative around them, allowing them to not be so sticky, and giving yourself some space to move your mind elsewhere and begin to train your brain into different patterns of reaction, can be incredibly helpful to improving your quality of life. In cases like depression, anxiety, chronic pain, etc., I of course encourage you to speak to your doctor, psychiatrist. There are many modes, but I think it's quite clear in both research and experientially that adding a meditation practice and neurofeedback training within these modalities can really help the experience of daily living. And in specific to the idea of mental fitness, be able to train your brain to be able to be more resilient and be able to accomplish more in the face of the kinds of thoughts and feelings that your brain body serve up to you. With that, there is a related question with neuroplasticity. So I'm going to throw this to you, Cody. How does how does neurofeedback training improve your neuroplasticity?
Neuroplasticity, it's happening all the time. We're learning that it does happen late, for our full lives, more later into adulthood than we are aware of. And new experiences supercharge neuroplasticity. And the neat thing about meditation that I found is that when I first started meditation, I thought it was going to be the same experience every time. But as the years go on, what I find is that as you get better at meditating, as you experience different forms of meditation, it's like this wide ocean of different experiences that you can. I've had experiences where I feel like I'm getting pulled into a vortex, or I'm like one with the universe, or extremely euphoric and present. All these different things I've experienced meditating over the years. And what's great about the brain is that every time it gets a new experience, it forms new connections. So other than traveling the world, I can't think of a better thing to encourage neuroplasticity than with a meditation practice.
Thank you. There's a important clarification. So one of the people who was asking about ADHD said, I don't see ADHD as being a problem. I was just asking how the device works with people that are not average. Thank you. That is an awesome framing for it. Really appreciated for that clarification. And it's not a problem. I have ADD, ADHD, probably made me the risk-taking, forward-thinking person I am. And being able to tame and train my brain has been super helpful. So the question is how the device works with people that are not average. That's a great question. So there's a calibration at the beginning, and that calibration sees where you're at. And then the sessions that you do are relative to your own calibration, relative to where your own brain is at. There's another question, Cody, on brain injury. Someone asks, many of my clients have brain injury. Many have difficulties quieting their brain with meditation. Can the Muse add to recovery and relapse treatment?
Can you read the question one more time?
Many of my clients have brain injury. Many have difficulties with quieting the brain. Can Muse support their recovery?
Okay, because there's a couple of things there, right? So quieting the brain, you're talking about anxiety, which is often a result of traumatic brain injury. So depending on what type of injury you've had, sometimes we even have like axonal tears on the microscopic level and inflammation throughout the brain. So TBI is something that's near and dear to me. I saw a lot of it when I was still active duty with the Navy at Walter Reed Hospital. We had a lot of veterans coming back from Iraq and Afghanistan that had TBI, not only from severe TBI, like they actually had something hit their brain, like a bullet or something like that, but also like exposure to blasts. IEDs was the big thing. So, and you know this, you're seeing your clients. So inflammation is a huge part of that. And I think with TBI, it's a lot of the biological part of it, right? So the biology is inflamed, it's going awry. So just for everybody else listening, I think that it's extremely important to get the inflammation under control with diet, with exercise, good sleep. Those are going to be the really things that move the mark. And the Muse is going to help guide that along, like we were talking about before. If the anxiety is causing insomnia, training your ability to get into rest and relax and sleep better through the Muse is going to help the brain's lymphatic system, which is basically the immune system of the brain, clear out a lot of the toxic byproducts from metabolism and the brain injury to eventually help the person feel better. I don't think simply redirecting your thoughts through meditation is going to be the long-term solution for TBI, but it can help guide the brain into a healing state that will lead to long-term improvement. So that's how I think about using neurofeedback and meditation tools for something like TBI that has such an obvious biological component to it.
Awesome. Thank you. Some of the more practical questions here I'm seeing, is it possible to order the Athena in business situations? Totally. You can just reach out in the Summer can put a link in the chat for the email to reach out to. Somebody else wonders if they can monitor their patients with it. And yes, we actually have dashboards and tools to monitor your patients, your clients. So we have lots of neurofeedback practitioners, naturopathic practitioners that use chiropractors, et cetera, that use Muse with their patients and are able to monitor them. And then we also have sleep clinics that monitor looking at the raw EEG data. So there's lots of different ways to use it inside of a clinical context. Just looking here over somebody who doesn't see the ebook, Summer, perhaps you can put a link in the chat. There are a number of questions around the audio in the Muse. So the neurofeedback, the audio that you're hearing during your meditation session, all of the sounds are actually adjustable. So you just go into your settings and you can adjust the sound of the bird chirps. You can turn them on or off, the volume levels, the feedback levels, you can turn all the sound off completely. So there are many different ways to use your Muse with and without the audio if you find any part of it to be not supportive to your practice. The pieces of audio are there to serve different purposes. So when you're meditating with Muse and your mind wanders up onto a thought and you hear the rain come, that rain might cause you a sense of anxiety or frustration when you hear the sound. And it is actually another lesson inside the meditation experience. So it's a lesson of equanimity, simply being with whatever happens. It's a little bit more advanced. So at first you might just be trying to get your mind into calm, and every time the rain comes, you're just like, okay, move my mind away into calm, mind away into calm. And then over time, you can actually start to listen to that sound of the rain that's supposed to be, you know, the signal that you're doing it wrong. And instead of feeling a sense of anxiety and difficulty that comes with it, simply accepting that sometimes my mind wanders and sometimes it's calm. And as we learn the skill of acceptance and not making stories or dramas about the things that happen in our life, life comes more easily to us. So this is like a basic meditation lesson of equanimity. And the same with the bird. So the first time you get a bird, you might be like, okay, well, it's a sound. When you finally know a bird is a reward and that you focused and you get a bird, sometimes you're like, oh my God, it's a bird. And then the bird flies away. And this is yet another meditation lesson teaching you to be at peace with both your failures and your rewards and to accept what comes. And some people get super competitive about the birds, which makes you better at getting them. But then again, the next level is to just let go and not care about the presence or absence of birds. So all to say, you're welcome to shift the volumes to any of the sounds that are there. But as you have reactions to those sounds, in and of themselves, those become lessons that teach you some of the deeper pieces of mindfulness and meditation practices. I noticed that we are at 1:43 and there are so many comments in the chat. I wish we could answer each and every one of the questions here. There's 43 of them. But I'm going to have to wrap because we have one more minute left. So anybody who has left a question, we're going to try to reach out and get back to you. And we will also review the chat afterwards and be able to engage with people. And so I want to take a moment to thank you, Cody, for your knowledge and your experience. Are there any last things that you want to share with our audience?
If you want to check out my biohacking videos where I'm using the Muse headband in various scenarios, check out the YouTube channel. It's called Tech for Psych. I've also got a coaching program available now. So if you're interested, take a look. I just released a video about an hour ago outlining that. It's called Sharper Every Day. So I'll pitch that a little bit. But I really want to thank you, Ariel, and the Muse team for letting me come on and share my experience with the Muse. It's been truly transformative in the last 10 years, just watching this device iterate every year, get better and better. And to this point, it's just amazing to see how far it's come and how much value it's bringing, both value for myself, my clients, and all the people that I've talked to on YouTube. So thanks so much for having me on.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you so much. Well, Cody, it's always a pleasure. And to the community that's joined us, it's been wonderful to have you all here. And I look forward to the next time we get to engage together. So wishing all of you a wonderful day filled with challenges that you overcome with peace and grace and filled with calm and peace, if that's your jam. And may our day bring, you know, whatever we are ready to handle in it. So with that, I say goodbye and till next time.